None other than my friend Doug Basham. Doug, thanks for joining us. How are you?
Hey, good guys. I'm Brian. If I may, two things real quick before we get going.
Sure.
I got to compliment you on your response to Lewis in the first hour. Every time someone says or writes something about Donald Trump, they treat it like it's a one-off, like they've forgotten the hundreds of other times they've treated other instances as one-offs. And you would think after doing that as many, many times as they have, they'd maybe pause and do some reflection. Secondly, I got to thank you for the public service you did with your call to Scott, the attorney. Now I know who not to call if I ever get in trouble. I mean, I would be embarrassed to be represented in court by someone wearing a tinfoil hat and someone who was just so horribly unprepared to make his case.
He couldn't give me one thing. By the way, he reminded me, I put him in the category of Marcia Clark and Darden, although maybe that's giving him way too much credit. I don't know. But anyway, Doug, I appreciate
that. The problem is we don't know his last name, so I'll just have to avoid every attorney whose first name is Scott. And that's not fair.
Scott, are you the Donald Trump supporter who called into the Vegas take? Yeah, if you ever meet a Scott, you've got to make sure you do that. Doug, now that we're talking about Michael Cohen, I want to ask you a little bit about this. So, Doug, you know my opinion, and I want you and JD to talk about this. I think Michael Cohen's a scumbag. I've never said he's a nice guy. I think he's a liar. I think he's a dirty attorney. With that being said, if he was the only person that came forward with this stuff in the book, then I would probably say he's not credible. You have Donald Trump's sister, Donald Trump's niece. You have those who have worked for Donald Trump and his administration, those from 10, 20, 30 years ago that have said that Donald Trump in his own casino said he didn't want black people counting his money, that he wanted Jews counting his money. That's what makes Michael Cohen's book, to me, credible. Do you get where I'm going with that?
Oh, absolutely. And the other thing you've got going for you is that Michael Cohen essentially admits that he was a scumbag.
Right.
I mean, he's not trying to hide it. He's being honest about what he did. And I think the weakest, most tone-deaf, and I guess the funniest attack on Michael Cohen to defend Donald Trump is to call him a liar. I mean, if you support Donald Trump, you long ago willingly sacrificed the right to play the
Doug,
liar card.
That's your opinion. That's your opinion. You pull it all the time. But Michael Cohen is a convicted felon and a proven liar. There is a difference. In your opinion, Donald Trump is a liar, and anyone who supports him is a liar. But Michael Cohen is a proven
That's not an opinion. That's fact.
Factcheck.org. Daniel Dale. We understand you love Daniel Dale. Fine. It means nothing to me. It means nothing to a lot of people out there.
JD,
bottom line,
to you you're blinded by your partisanship, and you won't even go to the Washington Post and check out their searchable, documented database of over 20,000 lies.
Michael Cohen is a proven and a documented liar. He is a felon. He was convicted of fraud. He is getting paid. He is getting paid to do this. Election is in 2 months. And every single time something positive comes out about Donald Trump, something else follows. This has been happening for 4 years. This is another attempt at a smear campaign against Donald Trump to sway the election. And per usual, it's not going to work. Just like the Bob Woodward article, or the Bob Woodward tape. Per usual, it is not going to work.
Let Doug respond.
It comes out that Donald Trump is nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, and then suddenly within a couple hours, this
crank in Norway.
Is he or is he not nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, Doug?
Yes, he has.
Yes,
he is. Anti-immigrant crank in Norway.
Now you're factoring in your biased opinion. Did he or did he not negotiate a peace deal between Israel and the UAE?
No, he didn't.
He didn't.
Zero
Okay.
to do with that.
Oh, he had zero to do with it. Okay, fine.
And the
you're
UAE
not biased at all,
was
Doug.
such a threat to Israel in the first place.
Okay.
Doug, go ahead and respond to all the stuff that JD just said, because he said a lot.
Well, first of all, I've already made my point on calling Michael Cohen a liar to defend Donald Trump. That's laughable. Secondly, to dismiss him because he's a felon, he went to jail for doing things Trump ordered him to do.
Actually, he went to jail for hiding money from the federal government.
With Cohen.
All right, one at a time. Go ahead, Doug.
See, here's the problem. When I do the show on the phone and I talk, it nullifies whatever's on your end, so I can't tell if I'm talking over someone. Apparently, I just was.
Okay, so let's start. That's okay,
Doug.
That's totally all right. I just want you guys to do one at a time. I'm not blaming either of you. I'm just saying it's better radio when one person talks and one person listens. So let me ask.
I agree wholeheartly,
Doug,
and I wish I could.
No, it's
hear
okay.
The other side here,
it's quite all right.
For some reason, when I talk, I don't hear anything else on that end.
We hear you. We hear you loud and clear. So
I made my point about defending.
Sure. So
calling Cohen a liar to defend Trump. As far as calling him a felon, He spent time in jail for doing things Trump ordered him to do. If Trump wasn't in the position he was, he would have been sharing a cell.
Actually, one of the reasons why he spent time in jail is because he was hiding money from the federal government and he was avoiding paying it on his taxes. That's one of the reasons why he was in jail. Yes, did he go to jail for the campaign contributions? Yes, he did. But he also went to jail because he on his own. This was totally independent of Donald Trump, but he was brokering deals and not telling the federal government how much money he had and then not paying his taxes on that.
Right, and he also went to jail for doing things Trump ordered him to do. Yes.
Yes, and yes, every single person that's been attached to Donald Trump for whatever reason, they have been thoroughly investigated.
Right?
Well, no. I mean,
Michael Cohen goes to jail for doing something Trump ordered him to do, and Trump doesn't pay any price?
I'm saying that's assuming that he wouldn't go to jail for withholding $5 million from the federal government that he made and not paying taxes on it. You're assuming that that's not the case.
I'm talking about the campaign finance.
No, I know what you're talking about, and I'm saying that he was accused of many things. He was convicted of many things. I think 4 or 5 different things. It wasn't just the part with the Trump campaign.
That doesn't matter.
Well, it does if he was going to go to jail regardless.
No, it doesn't matter.
You're trying to say that he would have gone to jail only because of what he did for Donald Trump, and I'm saying that is not the case.
Trump ordered him to.
Okay, somebody respond to that. You both are talking over each other. JD, go ahead.
Okay, I said you're assuming that he would have not gone to jail for withholding money from the federal government that he made and not paying his taxes on it. That's what you're assuming.
No, I'm not talking about taxes at all. I'm talking about the campaign finance crimes Trump committed with this hush money to Stormy Daniels to influence an election.
No, you're saying that the only reason that that he went to jail and that he's a convicted felon is because of that.
No, I didn't say that was the only reason.
That's what you said. You said he would not be in jail otherwise, which means that that's the only reason why he's in jail. And I'm saying you're assuming then that
for committing crimes Trump ordered him to do. I didn't say that was the only reason he went to jail.
Okay, so if he didn't commit the crimes that Trump, quote unquote, ordered him to do, would he still be in jail?
Probably.
Okay, so your point is null and void then.
But no, it's not. How can my point be null and void when you admit that he committed a campaign finance crime because Trump ordered him to?
All right,
that was part of his sentence. That was one of the things he was found guilty of.
Both of you are obviously not going to agree on this issue. But
you could say that it extended his sentence, I suppose. But saying that he would not be behind bars or a convicted felon if it weren't for Donald Trump is false.
But no one is
because
saying
he was doing things on his own, totally
independent. If Donald Trump wasn't a felon, or wasn't the president, he would be a convicted felon too.
All right, well, let's move on. Obviously, both of you are not going to agree on this issue. Obviously, I take Doug's side on this, but I'm not here to debate JD. That's why we have Doug Basham.
So he's saying that if Trump lost the 2016 election,
we're going to move on now.
Be in jail.
Yeah, we're going to move on now. All right, so I want to talk a little bit, Doug, if I may, about Black Lives Matter, because there's as I've been saying time and time again, yes, there are some bad actors out there. Yes, there is some violence out there. But a new study that came out by someone who is very reputable, in fact, several studies that have come out have shown that across the country, 94% of these Black Lives Matter protesters are nonviolent, peaceful protesters. Doug, what do you say to that?
Oh, I agree. I mean, you and I have said that all along, and that's the truth, but it also... You know, the people on the right tend to pick one instance and try to broad brush the whole movement as being violent or, something like that. And it's just not true. And we don't even know who necessarily is committing the violence because, as you say, the majority of the BLM protesters are peaceful.
There's no question about it. In fact, the actual percentage, I think I said it was 94%. It's actually 93%. And again, this is according to the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project. They've analyzed more than 7,700 Black Lives Matter demonstrations in all 50 states, Washington, D.C. as well, that took place in the wake of the George Floyd death. In all these reports, they reported 220 violent demonstrations. There are millions and millions of protesters, JD, throughout the country. Obviously, Doug is on my side of this. So do you just throw this away, this data that just came out?
I mean, again, I've seen probably 250 different videos of Black Lives Matter. Now, during the day, with what happens with Black Lives Matter protests, do I believe that the most of those are peaceful? Yes. But when the night comes, as an extension of a Black Lives Matter protest, there seems to be looting and rioting in a lot of situations. So do you consider that then to be still the same peaceful protest or the same protest, or are we talking about day protests and night protests? Because
no, we don't consider them to be peaceful protests, obviously, but we're not laying it at the feet of BLM either. We don't know that it's just independent knuckleheads or the Boogaloo Boys who come out at night to take advantage of BLM and make them look bad.
By the way, the Boogaloo Boys, 2 of them were just arrested for being involved in Hamas. For example, I mean, they're not right leaning whatsoever. They're just anarchists, and I do agree that anarchists have gotten involved with BLM, but BLM's message in general is very, very divisive for the general public because of the Marxism involved and the destruction of the nuclear family and calling for the defunding of the police or the abolishing of the police. A lot of people, and the numbers definitely dictate this or indicate this, are showing that people right now are just not supportive of Black Lives Matter because of all the things that have come along with the peaceful protests. And again, if there was just peaceful protest and no looting and rioting and vandalism and arson attached to it and not 1,500 cops nationwide being injured as a result of them, I would have no concern whatsoever. I wouldn't say a word. I would say I totally support 100%, but that is not the case. And there's a reason for that. So I really don't know exactly how many of them are peaceful. I think 93% is completely BS. I know for a fact that at least 36 states nationwide have had these peaceful protests turn into riots. So I'm guessing the number is probably maybe closer to 40 to 60%, but I don't know that because just from what I've seen, Brian and Doug.
Okay, so let me just quickly respond to that, Doug, then I want you to respond to it. First of all, just because somebody sees 250 videos, there are literally millions of people who have protested who support the Black Lives Matter movement.
And a lot of those are repeats, Brian.
If I could just finish, please. I'll start over. There are millions of Black Lives Matter protesters throughout the country that have never been arrested, that have never committed a crime, that are very peaceful protesters. The idea that just because we saw 250 videos, allegedly, that you're saying, of violent acts at Black Lives Matter protests, to insinuate that half the people that are protesting is absurd. And I'll give you this, Doug Basham, and I'll let you respond to this. Why is it, Doug, that when we talk about the bad apples in policing, as Donald Trump says, we would never categorize most police officers or half the police officers?
It's very anecdotal in comparison, Brian.
Again, I'm asking Doug, and if you could please let me finish.
You're making a very poor comparison.
Again, in your opinion, I think you do that every day, but I don't interrupt you every single thing you say, so I will start over again. Why is it, Doug, and I'm asking you, Doug, that we have, some bad apples out there, and I agree with the president. We do. I wouldn't label it like that. But why is it that we don't label all police as bad or half police officers as bad? But yet, when there are some rioters and protesters out there that might be violent, many people on the right want to label the entire Black Lives Matter movement as Marxist and violent and a terrorist organization. We don't do that with police. Why should we do that with the Black Lives Matter movement, Doug?
They do it because it's convenient to their agenda.
No, it's because of leadership, Doug. It's because leadership in the police department does not claim to be anti-police, does not claim to be anti-family, does not claim to be led by Marxists. The leadership in Black Lives Matter, it was founded by 3 women who support Marxism. That is not the case with the police department, Doug.
JD,
That's why.
Exactly
and the data
is.
It's the start of communism. It's the beginning stage of communism.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you aware of the quote that the founder of Black Lives Matter made with regards to Marxism?
They said, but Patrice McCullers said, and I quote, "We're all trained Marxists." She was the one that founded. She was one of the 3 women that founded this.
I understand that.
Okay.
And what she said is, we disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement by supporting each other as extended families and villages that collectively care for one another.
Do you know what the stats are?
Our children.
Do you know what the stats are?
That's their tie to Marxism.
Do you know what the stats are on African American men, and just not just African American, but just men in general that are in jails nationwide? As it relates to not having fathers, they're extremely high. Well, if you're disrupting the Western nuclear family, then you're disrupting mother, father, son, daughter, whatever the combination is.
I don't think that's what they meant. She was talking about collectively looking after one another as extended families and villages. There's nothing wrong with that. That's how we should behave as human beings, looking after one another as extended families and villages, not taking a handful of people and making them emblematic of a whole movement to discredit the whole movement.
So, Doug, are you a communist?
If anything, I would say that's more Marxist than them.
Doug, are you a communist?
Pardon?
Are you a communist, Doug?
Am I a communist?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Are you a Marxist? Are you a fascist?
What would make me a fascist, Doug?
Well, you asked me if I was a communist.
You're talking about how.
Why can't you give me a yes or no?
You're talking about how disrupting the nuclear family is a good thing as long as an aunt takes care of you, or a cousin takes care of you, or somebody else takes care of you. I'm saying right now, nationwide, if you don't have a father figure, the chance of you being incarcerated are incredibly higher than if you do have a father figure. And then if you're a single mother and you live in Las Vegas, Nevada,
they're not promoting single-parent families, JD.
Then what are they promoting with disrupting the the nuclear combination of the family?
Probably because of its individualism and isolationism, and their I guess, goal to remain as a unified unit, extended families and villages. I mean, you're blowing this way out of proportion.
Actually, I'm not. I'm repeating what's literally on the Black Lives Matter website. What a lot of leaders nationwide are saying: burn down capitalism, burn the nation down. The entire country is extremely racist. And as far as the bad apples, there are significantly less bad apples in police departments nationwide than there are in the Black Lives Matter movement. And I will factor in those from Antifa and those from, maybe they are Boogaloo Boys, maybe they're just anarchists in general who have no affiliation, who are involved in causing these riots that result in innocent people being hurt and property being destroyed. What?
And you do know that Trump's own DOJ has said that they've seen no Antifa involvement in these BLM protests.
I mean, that's complete. There's no way that's even remotely true. So who
discredit the whole movement?
So
just throw the word Antifa out there and people freak.
So who in Portland right now are protesting every single night with Black Lives Matter?
Who in Portland is protesting with them?
Yes. Who is it?
I'm not sure. I'm not there.
So it's not Antifa that's doing that? You're telling me Antifa? I mean, Michael Reinoehl, who shot
DOJ, no, it's not.
Who shot that Trump supporter, who was part of the caravan, by the way, named Aaron Danielson. Michael Reinoehl said, "I'm 100% Antifa." There are Twitter pages all over the place that are dedicated to Antifa. There are Reddit groups. There is a lot of different things that are dedicated to Antifa. They have logos.
JD, how many people has Antifa killed?
Connor Betts was associated with Antifa, and he killed 9 people in Cleveland, I think, 2 or 3 years ago.
Supposed to be Antifa? That sounds definitive.
No, I said he was. Connor Betts was supposedly attached to Antifa, and he made social media posts about being involved in Antifa or being very pro Antifa.
And distraction.
It's not a giant smokescreen and distraction. Doug, it's happening nationwide. We're all watching it take place.
Okay,
Antifa is very, very real.
Let's let Doug respond. Doug, start over.
A huge smokescreen and distraction from what our intelligence community says and what the FBI says, that the biggest danger to this country is white nationalism and white supremacy. That's the danger. But if we keep talking Antifa and Marxism and Patrice colors and everything else, we won't look at what's really happening.
No, again, I'm telling you, what I'm watching, what I'm seeing happening nationwide. Buildings get burnt down, businesses get destroyed, people get attacked in the streets. I mean, I've been watching it for almost 3.5 months now.
Okay, so JD, hang on.
Antifa is actively involved in this.
Hang on a second.
And it's very, very
JD?
clear. So my question to you, Doug, is this. If it's not Antifa that I'm watching literally do this, you're trying to gaslight me when I'm literally telling you what I'm seeing with my own eyes. But if it's not Antifa, then who in the hell is it, Doug?
Well, we know that the Boogaloo Boys have been involved.
So you think that the Boogaloo Boys are the ones that are going and breaking into businesses and getting spray paint and spray painting an A symbol, which is Antifa's symbol? Do you think they're carrying Antifa flags?
No.
You think they're all dressing in black and
right,
going?
Let him answer.
I mean, so who is it?
I think it's the peaceful daytime BLM protesters who go home for supper and take a pill and turn into Antifa.
See, exactly. Now, because you don't have an answer to, you try to make it funny.
Okay.
And I appreciate that, Doug.
No.
You're a pro.
No, that was my answer. It was obviously sarcastic.
I have an answer.
Right.
I have an answer, and then we're going to move on.
That's fine.
The answer, simply put, is this. I've talked about white supremacist groups and how many people they've killed over the last 15 years. Studies have shown over 300 people. And if you want to cite 9 people that might have been with Antifa, that's fine. But I think we know the truth. And we know the truth that the majority of those that are in the Black Lives Matter movement are not violent. They're not criminals. So let's move on now. Doug, I want want to talk to you a little bit about this story that I find very troubling. Apparently, the Justice Department is now trying to defend Donald Trump in this Jean Carroll defamation lawsuit. A lot of people say, especially Republicans, are the ones that say that Attorney Barr is not Donald Trump's personal attorney. Why would the Justice Department do this?
Because, well, Brian, you and I know, those of us who live in the real world and paid attention all along, we knew that this was going to happen when Donald Trump chose Bill Barr. The only reason he got the job is because of a paper he wrote that he sent to Trump in the White House calling for a unitary, all-powerful executive branch. And we said, oh, great, he's looking for his new stooge, fixer, and goon, his new Roy Cohn, and he's got one. And what Bill Barr is doing now is just a further debasement of our Justice Department and another step towards authoritarianism. This kind of thing happens in third-world dictators, not democratic republics. And I personally don't want my tax dollars going to defend Trump on a rape charge that he could have dismissed if he would just produce a DNA sample.
Which he won't do. JD, what do you think about that? Donald Trump refuses to produce a DNA sample.
Okay, so what?
So what?
And if he's being defamed for, what, the 50th time?
Well, if he's being defamed and he wants to exonerate himself, produce the DNA. He won't do that. Gee, that sounds suspicious.
Very.
Okay, fine. I don't think that Donald Trump raped Jean A. Carroll, whatever her name is.
Then why doesn't he show his DNA?
I have no idea.
Well, I'm asking.
You'll have to ask him that question.
Well,
I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay, well,
let me ask you, JD.
But if he's being defamed,
hold on, giving a DNA sample, what reason could we come up with if you said you wouldn't do it, other than you're guilty?
Doug is asking a very logical question, and what Doug is asking, I'll repeat it. If, JD, for example, you were accused of rape, and you had a chance to exonerate yourself, and you wanted to file a defamation lawsuit, wouldn't you produce that DNA sample? Wouldn't you agree to that? Not only would it prove that the person who you allege is defaming you is lying, but you could sue her, and it would show in the future, I'm not going to mess around. Why wouldn't, give me a one reason, JD, why Donald Trump wouldn't do this?
Well, we'll see what happens with the DOJ. I really don't know.
You can't give one
you do.
No,
explanation.
Actually, I don't. Doug, neither do you. You and Brian are very biased against Donald Trump, and I understand that.
So
neither
Doug,
of you guys know.
So Doug, apparently, JD, I get
we'll see what happens with the DOJ.
Okay, I get your opinion. So Doug, this is what they do. So apparently, we're biased because all we're saying is that if somebody is accused of rape and they're saying that the person who is accusing them is a liar and they want to file a defamation lawsuit, apparently we're biased when we say that you probably should take that DNA test. I guess that makes us biased to have an opinion like that, Doug.
Well, unfortunately, in Trump world, the truth is the bias.
Yeah.
I mean, Donald Trump is engaged in a nonstop campaign, an all-out war against the truth his entire life. His own family will tell you he's a serial liar.
Yeah.
He has his own documented searchable database of lies.
Yeah,
the problem with this is he is such a constant liar. I mean, everything and not only that, he repeats it and he repeats it. And those who are, shall we say, more inclined, well, damn it, let's just say what it is. Those who are weak-minded, it works on them. That's how brainwashing works. And we've gotten to the point now where truth isn't truth anymore. Trump said, what you're seeing and what you're hearing is not what's happening.
Okay, so Doug, if that's the case, if he's blatantly guilty, then why is the DOJ getting involved in defending him? Where will that go?
I just told you, because Bill Barr is not the nation's top cop.
Where will that go?
Personal attorney.
Where will that go?
What's that?
Where will that go?
Where will that go?
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll be thrown out of court. JD, the reason he's doing it is because the government cannot be sued for defamation. So if he makes the case, I mean, first of all, who actually how are you going to defend his rationale that Donald Trump was acting in his capacity as president when he called Jean Carroll a liar and said she wasn't his type? I mean, that is just absurd on its face.
That's his opinion, Doug. And the president is entitled to have an
crap,
opinion.
JD. It's a laughable excuse.
In your opinion, it's crap, but it's still
would have come up with something better than that.
Well,
Doug, I appreciate you coming on as always. Thank you very much. It's always a good spirited debate, and thanks for coming on, man. Always appreciate
you.
You.
Pleasure, guys. Stay safe.
Thank you.